Hello everyone, welcome back to our community. I'm Jen if you're new, and on my video that I filmed a year ago, that was 1 year after going off birth control. I was fully healed after a blood test that I took, and I created a video on what I did to heal my hormones, and I got so many messages, comments, etc. to kind of dive a little bit deeper and tell more about my story. So this is an extension of that video. So let's just start from the beginning, why I was on birth control, why I got off of it. This is just gonna be a little girl chat, but we're gonna get into the nitty-gritty as well. So I started on birth control at around age 14, and it was because my period cramps were so bad. I have vivid memories of just like being at my best friend's for a sleepover and calling my dad to come pick me up at like 4 a.m. because I was like screaming, howling, crying about my period cramps. So before I ever lost my virginity, I was on the pill. Fast forward a little bit, I had been dealing with IBS for about 7 years. It was happening throughout college, like chronic diarrhea and things that you could have just chalked up to drinking a lot in New Orleans, eating a lot in New Orleans, etc. But no matter how many GIs I went to, how many prescription medicines I was given, literally nothing cured my stomach problems. And I just had no understanding of my body. I could never predict a food that was going to make me feel badly or make me bloated. Like I had no idea how certain foods made me feel. I just had, you know how people say listen to your body? I would get so frustrated because I'm like, I don't know how my body isn't telling me anything other than we don't feel well. So after going to a ton of doctors for that, I started doing my own research and just like being really interested in wellness in general, also stemming from all of these issues I was having in my gut. I learned that there is a correlation between birth control and your gut and your microbiome, and it started to freak me out a little bit because at the same time, I could not find any results for my workouts. Like I worked out probably almost every single day, and I had never felt so inflamed and bloated no matter what I did. And I had no sex drive. Like truly, you could say you have low libido. I felt like I had no libido. Like even in the moment, I couldn't feel anything. Like the desire just wasn't there, and it made me feel really badly about myself and for my partner. And I got some messages on the last video saying like, how did it affect your relationship? And I would say that's the main way it affected my relationship, because I didn't really deal with PMS or anything like that because the birth control was kind of masking it. But the low libido, it's just like your spunk is gone, you know? And you're just like, why am I broken? And you start to overthink it, and you're like, a lot of issues stem from that, and you start to feel really badly about yourself, and you can't really lean into like your feminine side or sexual side, which like is an important aspect of a healthy relationship. But I am going to quickly pause here because I do need to introduce Love Wellness. They are sponsoring this portion of today's video, and I have been taking this supplement for the last few months. We will get into this later, but my hormones have kind of been feeling a little wacky again post-marathon training. So I was doing a ton more research, and based on this research that I'm about to share with you on all of like horsetail extract and antioxidants and amino acids that help with PMS symptoms and bloating and all of those period symptoms that I've really been struggling with recently since being off birth control and marathon training. And Cycle Soothe had all of those natural herbs and antioxidants and amino acids in one supplement. So this was an easy way for me to kind of just start getting back on track again. Love Wellness always follows the science, not the trends. We already know this. I'm obsessed with them. So it helps with hormonal bloating, day-to-day stress, just soothing those symptoms. Some of those ingredients are L-theanine, vitamin B6, organic chasteberry fruit powder, just to kind of get an idea. Sign up for your Love Wellness subscription and you'll get 50% off your first month for Black Friday. Let's get back into the video. Thank you, Love Wellness, for saving my life and my hormones and all women's health things. Per usual. Oh, I want some chapstick. And we're back. So as I was saying, continuing the girl chat, I was just constantly feeling bloated and like the extended kind of bloated, like pregnancy bloated. And I have a whole separate video on how I healed SIBO and IBS, but this journey was really intertwined. So between learning about the correlation between the pill and my gut, and then also realizing and understanding all of these other symptoms going on, and hearing, my therapist, my doctors, people online saying, yes, absolutely, the birth control pill can suppress your libido, there were just all of these feelings of like, I have no understanding of my body is not my own, let's look into this. And that's when I discovered Alyssa Vitti, and I would say she was the reason, I don't know, I felt like a light bulb went off with her content. And if you have not heard of the cycle syncing method, the Flow app, or any of her concepts, I'm gonna break some of it down for you. It will really clarify a lot of the female experience. So I listened to her audiobook In the Flow, which kind of details her cycle syncing method, which is a way for women to eat, live, work out in sync with their cycles in order to live your most creative, productive life while managing your stress and even improving your sex life. So she's a functional nutritionist and a hormone expert, and her main idea that really just like blew my mind, broke my brain, was the difference between women and men and their infradian cycles. Basically, men operate over a 24-hour hormonal cycle, and that's linked to their testosterone levels, while women are following a 28-day or so infradian rhythm tied to their menstrual cycle. And the workday and everything, literally everything in the world, is abiding by the man's 24-hour cycle, and we're just stuck here being told by doctors like, bloating's normal, all this stuff is normal, deal with it. So men's testosterone levels are peaking in the morning, which is where they have heightened energy and focus, and then tapering off throughout the day. Women, we are operating through 4 phases through our month. So there's the follicular phase, where you have estrogen rising and energy increasing. You have your ovulatory phase, which is like peak energy, peak communication. Like you want your meetings, your podcasts, whatever you're doing to be in this phase, running a marathon, your wedding, peak confidence. And this is due to high estrogen and testosterone levels. Then there's your luteal phase, my personal least favorite. It's a lower energy and progesterone is rising, and apparently it can be good in some ways for like detailed work. This is when I deal with PMS. And then there's the menstrual phase. This is when your hormone levels are dropping and it's time for resting. So essentially most productivity systems, diet plans, workout plans, it's all around the 24-hour infradian rhythm, but we have to bust that. So anyway, I learned a lot about how when you're on birth control and you think you're getting your period, you're just shedding blood, but it's actually not a real period. Her book just like blows your mind in realizing that the birth control pill is handed to you to kind of just put a Band-Aid over root causes that you can actually fix through functional medicine, which is otherwise known as root cause medicine. So if you have bad cramps, we can fix that with maybe increased magnesium rather than me taking a pill for the last, it was 11 years, suppressing any connection I had with my body. So now let's get into the nitty-gritty of what I did when I got off birth control. I did outline a bunch of this stuff in the last video, but I actually pulled up my functional medicine documents so that I can make sure I didn't miss a beat this time. So as I just mentioned, I did go to a functional medicine doctor. I went to Parsley Health. They do take some insurance plans and they do also do it virtually, but there are so many functional medicine doctors out there, so take your pick. They get to the root cause of your issues, and they are doing full hormone panels with blood work. They are doing testing that your regular doctors are just not doing. So right before I started going there, I actually got off the pill on my own. And pretty much immediately when I started getting my periods back, which was right away, I reverted back to my 14-year-old self. My cramps, I felt like I was getting food poisoning. Like I was so ill during those first few periods. It was not normal. Like I truly was like, this can't be my period. This has to be something else. Like Ethan threw me in a cold shower. I was like howling. It was bad. And right when I got off birth control, I was also really, really emotional. Like that is my biggest thing. Even when I switched birth control pills, which by the way, I was on low estrogen was my birth control pill. And anytime I switched, I would get like, it'd be in hysterics and just upset over nothing. And I had the most crippling self-doubt when I got off birth control. Like everything would make me sad. I thought that I was a lost cause with like my career. It was just like truly terrible. But I started with Parsley Health, and here's what they kind of put me on as far as a protocol. So one of the things that I did was food before coffee. So the reason for this is because if you have coffee right away in the morning, and I still do this a lot of the times, I can't lie, it's so hard for me, but it's going to spike your stress hormones immediately. So you want to have coffee first. This is for your digestive health as well. It's all connected. And I was also using Bia seeds. I do have a promo code for them. I do have a promo code for a bunch of these products that I'm gonna mention. So Bia seeds is a cycle syncing blend of seeds. So there's one blend, like one package for your first half of your cycle and another for the second half. And you just take a scoop of the seeds, you put it in your yogurt, in your oatmeal with organic oats, because oats are filled with glyphosates, if not organic. And you can do seed cycling on your own. You can literally make these packages on your own, but it just made it super easy for me while following this entire protocol to use Bia. So I will put that link in the description. But essentially seed cycling is the idea of eating different types of seeds at specific times during your cycle to balance your hormones. And my doctor and health coach there was really clear that there's not much scientific evidence of this, but can't hurt. She also said to drink at least 3 of my 40-ounce water bottles a day, which is so hard, and to add some electrolytes in there as well. She recommended a water reminder extension to put in my Chrome, and I never did that, but I just rediscovered it, and I'm definitely gonna try that out. She also recommended that to help with hormones and blood sugar balance, to cut my caffeine intake in half, and if you must have a second cup of coffee, make it a matcha. But I just totally scrapped the second cup of caffeine a day, so I only do my first cup of caffeine in the morning, and that really helps with my anxiety and PMS as well. While I'm PMSing, I can't handle cold brew. I need minimal caffeine. And then something that I mentioned last time that I truly think is life-changing, and I literally just repurchased because, as I mentioned earlier, when I was talking about Love Wellness, my hormones have been a little wacky, which we'll get to, so I just reordered this. Having a teaspoon of maca powder in your coffee or whatever beverage every single day, that is the first thing I implemented, and I felt a change really shortly after implementing it, and I have to attribute it to maca powder. And then lastly, on cramps, she said that having magnesium glycinate, there's many different magnesiums, magnesium glycinate and omega-3s, so fish oil supplement, the week leading up to your period and until those period symptoms subside, every time I stay on top of it and I take those damn pills, it works like a charm. Now, I got a lot of questions on protection. So this is something I did not mention in the last video. And I'm gonna run through all of the options that my functional medicine doctor gave me for protection, and then also what I used and what I currently do. So if dad's watching this, which I literally highly doubt, 20 minutes in, just scram. One of the suggestions is a copper IUD. That is a non-hormonal IUD. This is probably your best bet as far as not messing with your hormones if you want something internal round the clock. It's over 99% effective at preventing pregnancy, but it's not great for those with bad period cramps or any stomach issues, which is most of us. So if you're dealing with IBS, SIBO, bad cramps, it's not for you. So I did not go this route. So it works best for people with lighter pain-free periods, because apparently also for the 3 to 6 months after insertion, it can lead to really heavy painful periods. Now, this is the option that I decided was best for us, was this gel called Fexi Gel. So basically instead of the man using a condom, I was inserting almost like a tampon, this gel, before sex. So it basically lowers your vaginal pH to immobilize the system. And if you use it perfectly, the effectiveness is 93%. And then if you use it how typical people use it, it's 86% effective. It's effective immediately after application and basically only for an hour. It says need an additional application for each active intercourse. What does that mean? Oh, if you do it again. I'm reading my notes from her. And it's all non-toxic food grade ingredients. It's lactic acid, citric acid, it's stuff that's in your skincare. And the only thing here is there's no protection against STD exposure, but I have been with the same person since high school, so I don't have to worry about that. I mean, like if that was my daughter, I would say you never know, but I don't have to worry about that. So that is what I was using until I ran out of Fexi-Gel and just simply didn't restock because I don't know. I just didn't because I didn't have this doctor anymore. And I probably could go seek it out, but we have been using the pull-out method / the FAM method, which is the fertility awareness method. It's 75 to 88% effective. I know people who are really aware of their period and whatnot, and it can still happen, but that's why the pull-out method is always in place. So this is for women with predictable cycles, just really staying on top of and tracking your cycle. You can use the Flow app, Natural Cycles, there's a bunch of apps. I use the Health app on my phone, and I'm just like religious about tracking my period on there, and it seems to be pretty accurate, so I no longer use Natural Cycles. I was using Natural Cycles with the Oura Ring and the Flow app, and it was just like I was paying for all these subscriptions, and I felt like the Health app was kind of just as accurate. And then of course there's always a condom. I just hate them. So let's move forward a little bit to cycle syncing, because I did mention that before. This is more like where the habits came into play. So I was loosely following the cycle syncing method. I still do, I think way looser now because I had marathon training and just other things that I was prioritizing health-wise and fitness-wise. But the way I look at cycle syncing is it's a level of intensity. So I think some people kind of follow it a little too much to a T, where they're like,
oh, it's my menstrual phase, I have to do yoga. It's my ovulatory phase, I have to do HIIT.
And for me, it's just kind of pulling back on the intensity. So if I'm doing strength every single week, maybe I'll get after it and add more cardio in during ovulation, and maybe I'll pull back and just like do lighter movements, more stationary during luteal phase, for example. So I did during this time, I feel like really healing my hormones and focusing on that, like pre the time I started running and everything, I was just really intentional about the type of movement I was doing, needing rest during certain phases, and just like starting to really learn. I think it's a great way to really learn and understand your body and start adapting that kind of thing that I always wanted so badly, which was an understanding of my body. And like when someone says, listen to your body, I didn't know what the hell that meant. Now I know what it means. And I think the cycle syncing method can kind of, as it's balancing your hormones, also kind of teach you what your body is wanting and craving at certain times. And what I will say is I do not follow the food religiously at all, but I notice now that I'm kind of like on the other side of a lot of this, and I am in tune with my body, and I do feel like I'm very connected to my body for so many reasons. That could be a whole other episode. We got meditation. There's lots involved in that, but you know, it's mind, body, spirit over here. But I do notice that I naturally crave certain foods in each phase of my cycle, and I know what phase I'm in pretty much at all times because I can just feel it. And then I go to check and I'm always right. So I know what my body's craving and needing and wanting, and that is a really cool place to be. And I think that if I didn't learn the cycle syncing method and have that kind of body awareness and awareness of our cycles and the difference between men and women and all of that, I wouldn't be experiencing this now. So it'll always be a work of progress. I've kind of been alluding to the fact that marathon training kind of threw my hormones, you know, off a little bit. It's because I haven't been keeping up with the magnesium and the fish oil and all of these things, and that's fine because now I have my tools to go back to that and my cycle soothe. So if there are any questions that went unanswered in this very long girl chat, please comment them down below. I'm so happy to speak on this topic. I hope that you enjoyed this deeper dive, and any other video requests, whatever you guys want. I love you so much. I hope this was helpful in your hormone healing journey. Mwah.